Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you ever so much for having me involved. And I'd just like to say a big thank you to all the other speakers as well. Some really interesting topics, and really got me thinking. So brilliant! Thank you ever so much. So I've got 15 minutes to try and summarize how to take your brand and your business global. So I'll talk a little bit about who we are and how we've helped other businesses and brands into new markets. So I'm the CEO of Crowd. We're a global creative agency and marketing agency, and we've offices in San Francisco, New York, Amsterdam, London, Madrid, Dubai, Shenzhen, and Chengdu in China, and most recently in Sydney. Over the last 9 years, we've been helping brands and governments into and service-led businesses into new markets. So I'm going to try and summarize in a very short period of time just how we do that. And I think a lot of it with most territories is thinking about things very strategically. So what we would always recommend is working, first of all, understanding which markets are going to be best for you, and depending on where you're based, that could be a whole plethora of different options. So the first thing is to really understand the product, the brand, or the service that you're looking to enter into a new market, and then start to work on a strategy that is going to deliver a plan. So I think one of the first things is don't try and do it all at once. So choose a strategic plan that is going to start to show results in one territory before you start taking the brand into the next territory. So the first tip that I would say is really to work very strategically. Now, there's a lot of data around, and what we would first look at doing is understanding what has worked in the current territory, and then looking at the product or the brand, and really starting to understand, is that going to be applicable in a particular market? So and also, what market are you looking at? Because some markets are incredibly different to others. So an example of that is if you're looking at sort of taking a UK-based product or brand into the US, then there are some nuances around the sort of the copy and the way that you would talk about the business. And also not forgetting the time zones. So ensuring that you've got people on the ground that can really support you on a sort of day-to-day basis. So then what you would look at doing is really start to look at strategically, which market are we going to look at first. Now, if you are in the UK, then the Department of International Trade is a really good first stop, because they are there to support you. And a number of successful businesses have lent on the Department of International Trade and their connections globally. So that would be my first stop. Then the second stop would be looking to find an agency that's going to really be able to help you into that market and have people on the ground in that territory that really understand the nuances of that particular market. So once you've then identified the market and identified a partner that's going to help you in there, the next stage is more than likely going to be data. So really looking at how you can better understand your potential audience and what they're doing online. So as then typically we would start to develop a campaign and a strategy that is going to enable you to penetrate that market with a predictable amount of success. And a lot of our clients are very keen on return on investment. So it's absolutely paramount that you plan this correctly and budget for it correctly, because the marketing team are going to want to start to see a return at some point soon. So being strategic about the market and understanding the audience that you're going to be searching for is absolutely key. Once you've got that and you've got your data in place, then it's going to be really trying to understand about how deeply and how quickly you want to go into the market. So, to cover all of this off in 15 minutes is going to be near on impossible. But let's say that you are an e-commerce platform and you're doing really well in one particular market, and you then want to look at expanding it into another market. There's going to be a number of different considerations. So customer support is certainly going to be one of them. Distribution centers is going to be another one of them. And what we tend to do is work with our clients across all of those areas, giving them some insight into that particular market, and how they may be able to do it. Some markets, you can do cross-border e-commerce, which keeps costs down and lets you really test that market. Other markets are not so easy. So if you think about a market like China, then you can do cross-border e-commerce into China, but you would really want to start to understand, what your brand stands for there. Do you need to rebrand? So we are crowd across all of the territories that we're in, but in China we have a different proposition and a different logo even, and a different name. It stands for the same thing, but understanding these nuances for these particular markets, and there's a couple of markets that require more investment than others. So really thinking about that, and understanding, if you've got somebody on your team, as an example, that can speak the local language, then that's going to really save you a lot of pain when entering into those markets. So you've chosen a country, you've got your strategy in place. You then start to understand the audience, and then you can start to plan some of the long-term gains, which would be sort of localized SEO, and understanding how you're going to support customers in that particular market. Then you would start to layer on localized content. So absolutely key that that piece of creative is going to resonate with that audience. And the way that you do that is from typically, understanding the brand and its core. And what we tend to look at is an umbrella campaign that's going to resonate, because we don't want to change your brand for a particular market, but we do need to ensure that it's a success. So that then is, part of what we would call transcreation. So really looking at how we can adapt that brand and that brand messaging to appeal to the market and its customers in a different way. So, an example of that is, I think, the site. There's one of our clients that we're running 28 different languages on, and we can do that because we have 23 different nationalities on staff. We speak 16 different languages, but we work very closely with a number of translation partners and transcreation partners that can enable us to deliver on brand messaging in foreign markets. So understanding the language and really understanding how we're going to be delivering that is absolutely key. Then the other considerations really are around things like IP, how you've got your brand set up in that particular territory. So different markets require different levels of IP and copyright. So working with a team locally is absolutely key. And so I would sort of, in summary, I would say that there's sort of 3 tips that I would want to sort of to really focus on. That first one is ensure that you're working with a partner that has a team on the ground, because without it, you're going to be very lost. And you do need to understand the nuances of every single market that you're looking to enter. So tip 1 is ensure that your partner has got a team that is on the ground in that location that can advise and feedback on all aspects of the campaign. The second tip would be think strategically. So if you're looking at going global, then which markets are going to deliver the best results quickly? And that's a very sort of strategic part of what we do. Really understanding the product and your product or your brand, and how we can then start to take that into a new market. So that really big understanding of the actual business, and how we can support that business into a new territory is absolutely key. So that's, tip number two is really planning strategically, and that's client side and agency side. So thinking ahead about budgets. You're going to be going into a new market. There's going to be an awareness campaign initially. Typically, that would then sort of start to tail off as we start to sort of deliver a more results driven campaign. So you would do awareness first, and then you would look at creating a more of a results driven campaign, and then we would move into a remarketing and retargeting once we've built up a strong enough set of data. So that's tip number two. And then I think tip number three would be just really understanding from a stakeholder's perspective who's going to be involved in the decisioning, because you're going to be doing some fairly big bold things that could completely revolutionize your brand as you start to expand it into multiple markets, and deliver far bigger results than you've been doing locally. So making sure that all stakeholders are fully engaged with the program, because that could be a logistics issue that's going to creep up on you in regards to sort of stock and how you're going to fulfill it, and then how you're actually going to get your product out and deliver it within the market. So those would be my top sort of three tips. I mean, we're available to have sort of a conversation, and there's plenty of case studies of how we've done this on our website. This is crowd.com. So what I would really sort of think about is those three key points, and working strategically to deliver them. So I'm cautious that I've got 3 minutes left. I'm not sure if there are any questions at all. Yeah, I'd welcome
Hello.
you. Hey,
You,
I can hear
you,
you now.
you can hear me now because I did want to pull the number of being on mute, and I could manage to do that. I'm sorry for being on mute.
No
Uh,
problem at
so
all.
the thing is, well, thanks so much for everything you just said, and I was wondering to myself, you talked about the importance of having a reliable partner, and that you talked about the DIT and some other ways of getting those. But can you tell me what would be what's the moment when you know that your partner is the right partner? How does that work?
I think, yeah, for us, I think the DITs are very much at the start of the journey. So, if you are a British company, then you can rely on the DIT. All countries have an element of it. I would have to say that the UK is particularly strong at exports. So that would be at the start of the journey. I think when you've got the right partner, as in when you've chosen the right agency to work with, it's probably going to be very much the same way that you would in any other territory. So it's local knowledge is going to be absolutely key, and results. So for us, I think it's we managed to grow our accounts and grow our clients through producing results and
Mhm.
being very clear on the journey. So when you typically go into a new market, there will not be results immediately unless you've potentially got sort of a really good influencer network, and you can start to penetrate it and build demand for your product ahead of entering into it.
Mhm.
So I think that it's obviously the chemistry, making sure that you're happy with the agency that you've chosen,
Mhm.
making sure that they're demonstrating that strategy
Mhm.
clearly,
Mhm.
because it is a very strategic move when you're moving into a new market, because there's not just it's not just another campaign. There's real business sort of implications behind it.
Fantastic. So my final question to you is, uh, this finding a new partner in the entering the markets works well in a, I think, on a online, not, oh, sorry, on a face-to-face world. where you get to meet with people and shake hands and really get a feel for them. I'm asking for a friend. How do you really create that trust in a world where you actually cannot travel? Have you added new destinations? Have you added new places to
Yeah.
your roster in the pandemic without seeing people potentially?
We did. We opened our office in Madrid last year, and we opened our office in Sydney last year. I haven't been to either yet, personally, but we have a trusted team that are on the ground in each of the territories that we're in.
Mhm.
So I agree, face-to-face meetings is absolutely paramount. However, we've worked with clients that we've never had on a face-to-face meeting with, just because of the very nature of people being locked down. So I would say that it's possible, but we've had clients that then have traveled from different countries to our various different offices, met the teams, got the confidence that we'll deliver the results, and then engaged us.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you so much for everything that you shared. And with that, we conclude our day one. So, Camp One, thank you so much, everyone, for being with us. Thank you to all of our speakers, all of our attendees who've chosen to spend their time with us today. You made this day special for us. The stream ends now, but the networking remains open. And we'll launch the community hub next week, so you can circle back here and find the stuff that you might have missed, and start preparing for the next event, which is in a month's time on the 16th of November. Our Camp 2 kicks in. So I hope you like what you saw. We apologize for any mishaps that might have happened. And with that, I thank you from the bottom of our heart. Thank you. Goodbye.